everyone, this is Katie the Novel Stitcher. It is Monday, May 8th, and this is Flosstube number 18. This is a channel where I talk all about the wonderful craft and hobby of cross stitch and show what I've been working on. And I also have a little bit of bookish talk and reviews, and that always comes at the end of the video. If you're new here, thank you so much for checking me out. I'm so happy that you're here. I hope you like what you see and consider subscribing. Please also go into the comments and let me know how you found me, where you're from, what you're stitching on, how your month is going. I love talking with you in the comments and meeting new followers. And if you're returning, I'm so happy to be back here with you. I always miss you when in between videos. Thank you for all your wonderful and kind comments on my last video, and just for watching and for your support. It means so much to me. So it's been a busy weekend, which is why I'm filming on Monday morning. I actually took today off because over the weekend we had my brother and sister-in-law's big baby shower bash. They got married during the pandemic, so they had a really small family-only wedding. And so with the arrival of their first little one, they wanted to do something bigger and get together with all of their friends and family to celebrate. So we had a big party in Brooklyn where they live. We rented out a restaurant and all of their friends and our family came, and it was a lot of fun, but it was a long weekend. It was a little bit tiring. I think you forget how kind of crowded and crazy New York is if you don't live there or visit often. We used to visit a lot when I was younger because we lived in New Jersey, not far from the city, but that was mostly day trips and sticking around Manhattan and not having to worry about, you know, everything going smoothly with a big event. So a little bit of nerves and stress, but everything went perfectly, which is all you can really ask for. The weather was lovely, it was warm, it was sunny. Everyone had a good time, good food, good drink, just hanging out and celebrating them. And it seemed like they felt very loved and celebrated and very excited for this next chapter in their lives. So a long, slightly tiring weekend, but a good one. I know that my mom was pretty stressed about the whole thing and was happy that everything just went really nicely. And we all really had a good time, and no one had too many issues. You know, getting around New York was a little stressful, trying to hail a cab and make sure we made it there on time and, you know, all of that, but it all went well. And a big thank you to Alex, who dragged into the city and went all around with me and my slightly stressed out parents and just dealt with it all and took it all in stride. Spent like the entire day with my family at this big party with all these people he didn't know, and the fire alarm in the hotel on Saturday night went off at like midnight, waking us all up. And yeah, it was a long weekend, and he was certainly a trooper. And on Sunday, we stopped in my hometown on the way home to Pennsylvania. I just wanted to show him where I grew up and just drive past some old haunts in New Jersey. So we did that, and we went to the church I went to growing up for Mass and went out to breakfast. And so that was really nice to show him that. And then came home and didn't want to do anything the rest of the day. So a busy weekend, but a successful one. So that was good. And other than that, not else much is new. Scout turned 13 on Friday. So here's a picture of the birthday girl. We didn't do much to celebrate. She didn't want a big party. She just wanted some extra treats. I didn't buy her any toys because normally she prefers random items she found around the house to play with instead. She's very hit or miss with store-bought cat toys. So just give her extra treatsies and she's a happy girl. So we can just get into stitching. And hopefully the lighting is okay or doesn't get too weird. It's sunny/cloudy, so the sun is going in and out, as you can see with the clouds, but we should be good. And so for stitching, I don't have any finishes or fully finishes. I have 2 new starts, one in April and then one in May as part of my mini mania. I have a bunch of whips to show, some progress on those. No haul, trying to be good. New York and hotel and a gift for my brother and sister, all of that was very expensive, so no stitchy stuff for the time being. Couple Flosstubers to shout out, some plans, and I will have some bookish talk at the very end. So let's dive right in with my first new start. I'm gonna put a picture of it here. This one I started at the tail end of April because I had been seeing a lot of other Flosstubers stitching Wizard of Oz themed patterns. This one is from the Little Stitcher shop on Etsy. I bought it over the summer. It's just been sitting, waiting for me to want to stitch on it. And then I think Pam from Just Keep Stitching is stitching something Wizard of Oz themed. I think the Huga Stitcher is. EJ from the Sunshine Stitchers is, and so I felt like I wanted to start with this one after seeing everyone else's lovely Wizard of Oz patterns. One of my favorite movies. I was a munchkin in our 8th grade performance of Wizard of Oz and all that. So it's just a classic. So this is what I have so far, which is pretty good progress on this start. It stitches up really quickly. It's really an easy stitch. This is on 36 count Milk and Honey by Fiber on a Whim, and I'm using the called for DMC, and this is 1/2. As you can see, I did the words and started the border below them, and then was like, ooh, I want to start stitching on Dorothy. So I moved over to Dorothy, and she's coming along. And I think this is just going to be so cute. I'll probably frame it, put it up here, you know, in my den, and it's just, I really like this one. I think it's going to stitch up really fast too. So this was a nice small one to start that really isn't going to take much time. And I cut this fabric way too long because this is the end of the pattern pretty much. So that's going to be a fun one. And the Little Stitcher shop, she has a lot of really cute patterns for books or movies or historical people. She has a Mary Poppins one that I'm interested in trying out, or not trying out, but interested in stitching. She just has a lot of really cute patterns, so definitely check her out on Etsy. So that's the Wizard of Oz. It's just called the Wizard of Oz. I don't know if I said that, but yeah. And then the next one is part of my mini mania. So a lot of people do mania in May. They do all kinds of different versions of it. I think some people do, you know, 15 starts the first 15 days of the month, or work on 15 whips or 31 whips or whatever. I think everyone's been kind of making it their own thing. So I decided to do mini mania, where I will start a small pattern each Monday in May. So there's 5 Mondays in May, and May is the 5th month, so I thought that would be perfect. So I will have 5 new starts. So if you want to join in, I think a lot of you said you were interested, please join in. If you missed the first Monday, you could always do 2 today or catch up somehow, or do whatever. Just do 5 new starts at all in May, starting on any day that you want, you know, or just do minis. However you want to make it your own, but feel free to join in. I think I made it Mini Mania Sal, or just Mini Mania 2023. It's not really a Sal. I think I had used Mini Mania 2023, but I'll put the hashtag down here if you're interested in joining in. And so the first start for Mini Mania for me, that was last Monday, is Baneberry. I definitely just mumbled it last time and no one knew what I had said. So it's Bane, B-A-N-E, Berry by Carolyn Manning. I'll put the picture here. You all voted and this one won, but I did buy the other pattern that was a choice, Pixie Petals, and I'll probably work on that at some point. But Baneberry is the one that won, and this is part of the Manning May Sal, and that's being held by Bridget the Museum Stitcher, Megan the Seattle Stitcher, Cam the Stitcher, Marjorie Maid, and I think Alexis My Amazing World, and so many people are joining in. It's so fun to see what everyone's stitching on, because Carolyn Manning has so many different patterns and such varied patterns that it seems like everybody's stitching something different. I haven't really seen any 2 people stitching the same thing. So let me show you Baneberry. This is on a 32 count star sapphire linen. And that's my pretty good progress on this start. I'm loving stitching on this. This is so pretty. I love the little flowers and just the little detailing. And I think some people had thought, oh, this one's kind of wintry. And when you look at it, it kind of does look a little wintry, the model that was stitched, but I think that's partly because they used a slightly darker fabric. I think also that the called for is maybe a Gentle Arts. It's a fancy floss, but they have a DMC conversion, and I think the DMC colors are a bit brighter, but I just love, it's springy, it's soft, it's so pretty. So this one is such a fun one to stitch on, and I think I will be stitching on it quite a lot. And all the call for DMC, except for this pink here, was initially a green, and it was the exact same, literally the exact same color as the fabric. So that wasn't going to show up. I tried another lighter green. I didn't really like how that looked. I tried a darker green. I tried a yellow. I tried white, or like an off-white. Couldn't figure out what would work. And then finally I thought, let me just try a lighter pink, and I think that looks perfect. My only question for you all is, so this flower here, or tree or whatever that is, has these dark brown. And I don't know if the dark brown really matches with everything else. It kind of looks separate from the stitches off to the side. So I don't know if I want to keep that dark brown or soften it to a lighter brown or a completely different color. So let me know what you think. I might just keep stitching like it's this, and then the pattern repeats this off this way. And so I might keep that for now and then see how it looks as I stitch around it. But let me know what you think. And that's Baneberry by Carolyn Manning. And this won't be super big. It'll be 110 by 110 stitches as the size. So it's not a teeny one, but it's a manageable size, I think. So that's gonna be really cute. I'm sorry the lighting is getting weird now. The sun is fully emerging. But hey, I will take some weird sun going in and out of the clouds as long as it's not raining, because we got so much rain the other weekend and the other week, and we just wanted it to be sunny. So those are my 2 new starts. And then let's go into whips. So I'm gonna go into my whip go from April. So one of the ones called for me for April was Spring Quaker, to work on it for 8 hours, which I did. Here is Spring Quaker by Lila's Studio. She is a big girl, gonna take me a long time to do this one, but it's really pretty. The Huga Stitcher, I started it because I saw her, my hair is all frizzy. She did it as a snow day stitch to think spring during the winter. And so I joined in. It was the Spring is Sure to Follow Sal. I'm sure it's technically still going. I am so far behind. Samantha has the whole border done and is just getting ready to work on the basket. I'm not even anywhere close, but that's okay. This is just me doing it at my own pace, but it's beautiful and big, and it's pretty fun to stitch on. So I'm gonna try to remember where you last saw it. I always forget to take pictures of where it was last time, but I think last time I had like a little more than half of that, and I think I had like maybe the no and this and the flower done. So this is on 32 count antique ivory 2/2, called for DMC, and that's my progress so far. So the border with the triangles, you could either do satin stitch or cross stitch. I think it's satin stitch. I'm just doing cross stitch to make life easier there. And then I got No Matter How, or Matter How maybe done, the heart here, and started on this motif in the corner there. So just a little bit of progress on this, but I did get my 8 hours in. I think I had to frog somewhere in here. I did something wrong, but it's coming along pretty well. And I like how it's looking. So a lot of brown, which I think it'll look really pretty when it's done, and you wouldn't want too many colors because it would probably be overwhelming. But brown's probably not maybe besides, I don't mind stitching with white, though I'm always worried I'm gonna get it dirty, but brown is probably not my most favorite color to stitch. So it's been fun to get to like a little bit more different colors, which is why I jumped around down here and here too. But it'll look really pretty when it's done. I really wanna work on that basket though. You could almost just stitch the basket, you know, on its own. But yeah, this one's pretty. It's just gonna take a while. A lot of little motifs to do in that one. And then my second whip go for April was to work on the bookstore for 6 hours. This is from Cottage Needleworks, and there's the bookstore. Really cute. And for anyone who might be new and doesn't know, Whip Go is like a bingo board where you put whips or projects, and each month it's created by Jessie Marie of Jessie Marie Does Stuff, and each month she'll call 2 numbers, and then you'll look on the board, and whatever that number is, you'll write in a whip or a project or a theme and whatever goal you want, whether it's to stitch a page or to stitch a certain amount of time or to get to a certain point in the pattern, and then you'll just do that. So the other one was the bookstore. And this one is on 18 count beautiful beige Aida, called for DMC 2/2. So that's the bookstore. So I think since you last saw it, maybe I had started on the words. I did a good amount. So I did all the words, or maybe I had them done the last time you saw it. Maybe I did, and I had been starting on this bottom border with those flowers, which is really pretty. I did not finish this one. I just realized I need to do the leaves, and I need a leaf over here. So it's good to be showing this and to realize, oh, make sure you finish that and don't leave that undone. The fence, and then I worked on the tree. So this one will stitch up pretty quickly. And I like this beautiful beige Aida, really easy to stitch on. I love the colors. It's gonna be so cute when it's done. Perfect to put up on my bookcase or above my bookcase. I'm excited to have a collection of like bookish themed stitching. And that was actually, the Whip Go call was just bookish. So it was just me working on a book themed pattern for those 6 hours. And so this is the one I worked on. Now it does have, I'll show, a double border, and I think I won't do the border. So I'll show the pattern again. It has a white straight border and then some flowers and vines. And I think I'm gonna skip the border. Let me know what you do. Are you a border person? Do you sometimes stitch it, sometimes not? I think sometimes a border can make a piece, and sometimes it's a nice to have, but not really a must have for a piece. I know some people really hate borders, some people love them. I think I'm the type that's gonna just do it on a case-by-case basis. Sometimes the border is really nice to have. Sometimes, you know, you probably don't need it and it'll save you some stitching time. And also when you frame it or fully finish it, especially if you have like a very straight kind of border, you can definitely tell if you don't finish the piece perfectly because the border will be a bit off. Whereas if you don't have a border, you're less likely to notice that. So, but I think for the bookstore, it'll stand beautifully on its own without the border. So next we have May Whip Go. So for May, Jessie called 23 and 25. So 23, which I was really excited about, is Winter Rose Manor by Brenda Gervais. You all haven't seen Winter Rose Manor from me in quite a couple months because I had not been working on it. So I was really glad that it got called, which meant I could get back to stitching on it. I'm sure you've seen this one on like every other Flosstube because it's absolutely beautiful. Everyone seems to stitch this, but you can certainly understand why because it's just so pretty. So I'm really excited to be working on this. This one is on a 36 count summer khaki, and I'm using the called for fancy floss. It's Weeks, a couple gentle arts, and I think some classic Colorworks, something like that. I don't have the flosses with me, but, and so this is where, okay. Ooh. I will at some point get a board and clips to make this easier. I keep saying that every video. Someday it'll happen. I actually don't know if I need the board with this, so it might be easier to just not. Yeah. So this is what I have so far. Basically this entire section was done whenever the last time I showed it. And sorry, it feels all crooked, but it's fine. If it's crooked, it's crooked. This is going all wonky. I hope I didn't stitch that crooked. You know what? Maybe I can do, you think by episode 18, I would like be better at this, but no, that's better. Okay, we got it. So that's what I have so far. So I think I had 3 of those diamonds at the top done the last time I showed it many moons ago. And so I did 3 more, and then I started on this flower down here, which will lead into the basket on the top of the house. So going across, whether I'll go all the way across or start down and go to the house, I don't know. But I'm really liking this. This is 1/2. And I think it's just beautiful. I think it's turning out so well. I love the colors. I think this fabric really makes the colors turn up nice. So yeah, that is Winter Rose Manor. Oh, and I will work on that for, I don't have it written down. I think it's 8 hours, which will be a good amount of time to work on that for 8 hours in May. And so to show the pattern again, I'm over here, and whether I, for those 8 hours, continue across. I already started going down with one of the flowers, but do I do this or do I go like down? I guess I don't want to, I guess I should just get all this done and then move down to the house. So that's probably what I'll do. I really want to start that house. That's going to take a long time though. It's a lot of stitching. So, but it's so pretty. And then I'm going to talk about my other Whip Go in plans because I haven't started it yet. So we'll get to that in plans for number 25 that Jessie called. And so next I have my black butterfly sampler. I should have worked on this maybe last night, but I was tired. I didn't do any stitching at all Saturday or Sunday because of the baby shower, but this is for my little niece, and this is black butterfly sampler. Oh, I should put, there's the photo. It's a PDF. This is from Shaded Stitchery. She has lovely patterns. Please check her out if you're interested in this one. She's got a lot of others too that are just very pretty. This is on a 28 count white even weave, and I'm using Classic Colorworks Black Coffee. And so it's coming along so pretty. Oh, it looks so pretty on camera. Look at that. I like that. Now the one thing I'm having to be careful about is like doing, and I think I have more, is it even? I guess it is. I feel like I'm missing something. Like to make sure I'm counting right in how intricate this butterfly is, to make sure it matches on both sides. I think it does. But yeah, you gotta be careful with the counting. You can't fudge this because then it'll look off if one side of the butterfly comes out different. But I'm really loving this one. It's nice stitching with one color. This is the first thing I've stitched where I'm doing monochromatic. Is it monochromatic? I'm just doing one color. So I'm really loving working on this. I'm excited to be stitching something for my niece. A lot of recommendations. There's an alphabet on one side. Should I do her initials in different colors, or should I put her name and her birthday on it? I'm just gonna see. Rightly so, they aren't sharing her name until she's born, which is totally fine, but so I'll have to wait. I would have to wait until she's born to know what her initials would be. So if I want to get the alphabet done a little bit more quickly, she's due in July, and I don't have to get this done in July because she's going to be a baby and not going to know that this exists. So I don't have to, get it to them right away. It'll take me a while to stitch just because I'm being really careful with this one. So I probably won't get it to them till the fall. So I'll see what progress I make before she's born, and if I haven't really gotten to the alphabet or can like stitch the border and stitch around, maybe I'll do that, or I'll put her name at the bottom. I'll have to see. So I'll also have to check with them her last name, whether they're hyphenating their last names for her last name to do, to do first initial, last initial. So we'll see how that turns out. But so far it's looking really pretty. It's really nice to stitch something special for my niece, so that's exciting. So that is Black Butterfly Sampler. Two more whips. Yeah. So this is the day. I've mostly been stitching this one on Sundays. This is the day that the Lord hath made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. I'm sure, Plum Street, I'm sure most of you have seen this one. A lot of people have been stitching this one. It's so pretty. I love that house. This is so fun to stitch. Like, these colors are just those pinks. And I hated pink when I was younger. I think because I didn't want to be seen as like, I wasn't a tomboy, but I think like pink and purple seemed like too girly and too Barbie, and I wasn't into that. Especially like as I got into my teenage years, I was like, I want to be punk rock. I'm gonna wear black and red and gray, and I'm gonna be cool. I'm completely different now in what I wear. But I guess because my mom always wanted me to wear like puffy, frilly, pinky things, and I was like, no. So I wasn't huge into pink until recently, but I really love that pink brick house. And so this one is on 40 count Barb's blend from R&R Reproductions. And this is the little bit of progress, which doesn't seem like a lot, but there's a lot of color changes between the bricks. It's not my first 40 count, but it is 40 count, so, you know, pretty small holes. And yeah, I think it's just a few hours on Sunday, so it's gonna come together slowly, but I'm not in a rush to finish this one by any certain time. So I'm gonna enjoy the stitch with this one and take it slow. And so last time you saw it, I think I had only gotten up to that window. I hadn't even really fully stitched that window, so I did the whole window, some of the bricks on the side, and then this lighter color is this beautiful tealy color is going to be the door of the house. So just a little bit of progress, but that makes me happy. Call for a DMC, 1/2. So this is the day. And then my last whip, which I forgot to look at where I was last time, but I'm gonna pretend I remember where I was last time, and I have a hanging thread too, so ignore that. But this is, ooh, I should put it up. A Sweeter Love. I have the print pattern, but it's an actual photo of the model because it's from 2003 or 2006, and it's really hard to see, so it's easier to just post the picture up there so you can see more of the details. That is also a Plum Street sampler. It's a Plum Street sampler, so that's 2 of them in a row, but they're beautiful. This is on a 40 count vintage country mocha using mostly the called for DMC, and so that's where I'm at with that. So a couple of things about this. I think I had this done, and I explained that this was some sort of back stitch that was just too complicated for me to comprehend. So I'm doing like cross stitches like that. I think it's called checkerboard, but maybe that's only if I fill in, which I might do. I might have had some of this done, but not all of it. But I know I started these diamonds probably since last you saw it, and then I started this, and this is gonna be words inside this. It's gonna have the quote in it. This is 1/1. And it's 40 count. It's not as hard as I thought it would be. I do not have a magnifying glass or magnifier. I should probably get one because I have pretty good eyesight. I do wear contacts, but my eyes are younger, I guess. They're pretty decent, but it's a little tough. This isn't like the tightest 40 count. I'm making things up because I only have stitched on 2 40 counts, but it seems looser than This Is the Day. The holes aren't impossible to see. I think the problem for me with the 1/1 is that counting is counting. I'm like, how many did I do? I mean, I think I did this right, but all the stitches smush together and it makes it hard to count them. So I think that's the hardest thing. It's not seeing them, it's counting them. So we'll see how that goes. There's a lot of 1/1 in this pattern, which I guess I didn't really think about when I chose a 40 count. But I'll make it work. It's practice, you know. I haven't really done 1/1 on a really high count, so I'll get some good practice in there. So yeah, and you'll also notice, I don't know if anyone will point this out, there's no J in the alphabet you see there in the brown. And I've seen this on a few Flosstubes, and sometimes people know and sometimes they don't know, but I think it wasn't, I Googled it just to make sure, and I'm forgetting. It wasn't till like the 17th century that English used J. J and I were kind of interchangeable. It was the last letter that was added to the English alphabet. And I kind of knew some of that history from living in Washington, D.C. So in Washington, D.C., the streets are numbered and then lettered, or it could be lettered and then numbered. But anyway, they're all the streets are numbers or letters. So like when I worked in DC, I worked at 18th and K. And there is no J Street, H-I-K. And that was because back when L'Enfant created the grid and laid out DC and built the kind of how DC was going to be structured, they didn't use J, so there is no J Street in Washington, D.C. So I kind of knew that J was not in popular use back in the day because of that. So that is all of my whips. I'll probably have some stitchy treats for some of you viewers next video. Everything from the last couple videos is out in the mail. I will again say I'm not great at getting to the post office quickly. You will always receive your stitchy treat. You just might not receive it very quickly. And no haul because this weekend was expensive, and I don't know if I had mentioned I got a new car. I had mentioned a few videos ago that I was looking, and I did get a Mazda, so I had to pay a little money for payments on the car and New York and all that. So budget, the wallet is closed, even though I do want some new needle minders and some 40 count. So those are wish list for in a couple months when I get a few more paychecks in. I do have 2 Flosstube shout outs though, 2 recommendations for you to go and check out, and I will link them in the description so you can easily hop over. First one, which some of you may have heard of because she's been getting quite a few shout outs, is the New Hampshire Stitcher. That is Lauren. She lives in New Hampshire, obviously, and she's got the most beautiful stitching. She does a lot of 40 count, which really got me wanting to try 40 count. She does the Plum Streets, she does the Hands Across the Sea, she does smaller ones, but mostly really loves the bigger stitches. In her, I think her most recent video, she went through all of the really big patterns that she's been eyeing that she wants to stitch on. And I just think her stuff is just so beautiful. She frames most of it, I think, and just really, really pretty finishes. And she does a little knitting too. I think she's gonna post monthly, so she'll have a lot to show in each video. And she's newer to Flosstube. I don't know how many episodes she's in, 4 or 5, maybe a little more than that, around there, but much newer, beautiful stitching. So check out Lauren, the New Hampshire Stitcher. And then the other one is Mrs. Smith Stitches. She's very new. She only has 3 videos out. She's Alana and she lives in Canada. And she's got some really pretty stitching. She's getting into the groove of her floss tubes. The first one is a whip parade, so you can check that out and see if she's got the kind of stuff you like to see in a floss tube. But she's really easy to watch, pretty much a natural, you know, watching her first video. None of us are perfect. We all drop our fabric or don't know how to show things. And she just kind of, she doesn't seem that nervous and just really enjoyable to watch. So give her a follow for being so new, Mrs. Smith Stitches. And again, I'll link both those ladies down in the description. Okay, plans. Oh, I do have a little bit of not stitchy haul, but stitchy mail. I want to give away from the Country Stitchers. They are one of my favorite floss tubes. They don't live too far from me. They're out in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And they had, for their giveaways, because they have a lot of followers, what they do is they just pick 2 subscribers each episode to get a gift. They just randomly select 2 of their subscribers. And so I won, which was really exciting. So I won 2 Cottage Garden Samplings patterns. So I got Strawberry Harvest, which is really pretty. And I love the idea of stitching it on like some blue or gray with that bird. And then a very summery one, BZ Spring, with the bee and that really funky beehive with all the colors and the sunflowers. I love sunflowers. So that was a lot of fun to get that in the mail. So thank you, Country Stitchers. And if you are not watching them, give them, check them out. They're great. I love watching their floss tubes. And I think they posted one recently within the last couple days. And so plans. So Mania continues. So I have one Mania started with Baneberry, and then the next one today I'm going to start for my mom for her birthday, hopefully, is the Candy Corn of Mischief. And someone else is working on this one. Maybe one of the Bougie Stitchers, I think. I think it's one of the ladies of the Bougie Stitchers. And they didn't notice that, like, these are stars, these are pumpkins, these are ghosts, and they all make a candy corn. That's by Bent Creek, and I'm gonna stitch that for my mom. Halloween is her favorite holiday, and she asked me to stitch this for her, and her birthday's in August, so hopefully I can get it done for August. I don't think it'll take that long. It seems pretty small, so we'll see how that one goes, but that's really cute. And I am stitching this with the called for pearl cotton. So I got this from a viewer. She was very kind and sent me some patterns, and it came with the floss. So very appreciative of that. And so I'm stitching this on a 36 count magical gray Edinburgh. So my mom said she didn't really like the brown so much, and I thought like a darker, more Halloween-y for a dark gray, like a charcoal gray. So that's gonna be fun to start that one later today for my mom. And then, so for plans, it's just Mania again, so that's 2. And so there's 3 more Mondays after today. So in no particular order, I'll see what I feel like, but I'm gonna do Honey Fair by October House Fiber Arts. I think there's a Sal, lots of people stitching this one. So cute and pretty small, shouldn't take too long though. I have heard people did, October House Fiber Arts did a strawberry fair with a strawberry, and I heard that there's a lot of colors in these parts of it, in the strawberry and for this in the beehive. Yeah, you can tell there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 or 7 colors in that. So that might take a bit of time, but that'll be a fun one. And then I'm gonna do Little House Needleworks Strawberry House. And there's a fruit salad Sal going on from Java Girl Stitches. She is also I think she finished this one. This is a pretty quick stitch. So Christy, Java Girl Stitches, finished this one. So cute, really sweet. And I have some of the Classic Colorworks, so I'll do the DMC and the Classic Colorworks for Strawberry House. Oop. And then the last one I'll work on is really tiny, so this should be really a quick one, is Sunflower Sampler by Country Cottage Needleworks. So those are my plans. And one thing I want to do is, you saw that I had 2 starts and a whole bunch of whips. I think like 8 projects all together in the last 2 weeks. And I think part of me is feeling like I'm stitching too little time on too many things and not maybe making some progress on the bigger things, or like maybe feeling a little bit too overstretching myself to work on too many things. So I don't know yet what I'm going to do about it, because it is Mania and I'm doing my starts. But I'm trying to see if I can lessen that. And so maybe next video you might see a couple fewer whips, but more progress on other things. So I'll have to see how that goes. I mean, I definitely have to work on Winter Rose Manor because that's part of Whip Go. And then, oh, I forgot to say that my other Whip Go pick, so at least I can combine things, was to stitch on something Halloween for, I think this might be 6 hours. And so that'll do. So I'll start this one today, and that'll be my other Whip Go. Number 25 was Halloween. So at least I can combine that start and that Whip Go. So I'll be working on that one in Winter Rose to get to the 8 hours for Winter Rose, and I think 5 or 6 hours for the Halloween. So that's 2. And then I have my 3 new starts, but those aren't, you know, those are spread out at least a little. I definitely want to work on Black Butterfly and maybe Baneberry. So I might stick at 2 of my current whips, Black Butterfly, Winter Rose, and Baneberry, and then my new starts. So that might lessen the amount of whips I'm working on, because I kind of make like a schedule for myself, and I don't know how everyone else tackles their stitching, if they just stitch whatever. I use the Notes app on my phone and kind of schedule out what I want to stitch on each day, sometimes down to how long, like come home from work at 5, rest till 5:30, 5:30 to 6:30, work on this, you know, and things change depending what's going on. I don't have to actually stick to that plan, but I like kind of knowing what I might be working on each day. But sometimes I'm working on like 3 things a night in like one night, and so I'm switching out maybe too much. So I think I need to kind of maybe do 1 thing a night, and work on 1 thing 2 nights a week or something. I don't know. Let me know what you do. How do you especially if you are someone who has a greater number of WIPs. How do you decide what to work on when and how much time to spend on things and all of that? I'd be interested to know how you kind of plan out your stitching time. So that is all of the stitching stuff. So thank you for listening. If you're just here for stitching, let me know what you think of what I'm working on. Let me know what you're working on. How are you? How's May? Is it sunny and warm where you are? I hope so. I know a lot of people have had a lot of rain and not great weather, so I hope things are clearing up and drying up and getting nicer. I love summer. I love hot weather. It doesn't bother me. I'd rather it be hot than cold. I am that type of person who doesn't mind being hot and hates being cold. So I'm very excited for some warmer, sunny days. Fall is probably my favorite season, but I love summer. Close second. And lately fall has been kind of more rainy. And so, I don't know, summer is starting to be close second to fall. So let me know how you're doing, what you're working on, and if you're just here for the stitching, I hope you have a great week. And let's talk books. So I finished one book, audiobook, and it worked out. I'm making audiobooks work because then I can stitch and read. And sometimes my mind wanders, so I've struggled with audiobooks, but I think it's just kind of getting used to it, getting into the habit of listening. And so I think I just have to be patient and give myself a chance to actually, you know, not listen to one book and decide, oh, that didn't really work out and give up on it. So, and this worked out pretty well. I listened to it on the way to work and while I was stitching, and it might have helped that I had read it already. So I listened to Beartown by Frederick Bachman. I think I loved it more when I read it. When did it come out? I think I read it around when it came out, though if this is paperback, 2016. So I probably read it in 2017 or 2018 maybe. So 5 or so years ago. I still enjoyed it. I think listening to something is a slightly different experience, and I think you might notice uses of language or repetitiveness more if you're listening to something than you're reading something. Still really enjoyed it. And the reason I listened to Beartown is because it's a reread so that I could read the next one, which is Us Against You. So quickly, plot. I don't do trigger warnings in these, and let me know if you want me to. I probably won't though. So if you don't know, a trigger warning is when books have content that someone might not know that something happens, maybe a sexual assault or something like that, and it might be triggering and hard for them to read that kind of content. They might not expect it because it doesn't talk about that on the back of the book, and then it happens, and then it makes it really hard for them to read it, or it can trigger to a past experience. The only reason I wouldn't do them is because I might miss some, and I want to be careful of spoilers. Sometimes I guess a trigger warning could be a spoiler, but I just would say, like, you should, there are things that you have trouble reading or never want to read, just Google whatever book I'm talking about and the words trigger warning, and you'll probably get a list. I know that Storygraph, which is a Goodreads type app, but was created by actual readers. Goodreads is owned by Amazon, in case you didn't know, but Storygraph was created by people who love books and love to read and wanted to create something that wasn't Goodreads, and they have a little bit more detail on books in Storygraph, and I think they include trigger warnings and some other details. So anyway, but I can say like the tone of a book and whether it's happy or sad or stuff. So Beartown is not a happy read. This is not, there's a little bit of humor, but I would say like 99% of this book is like not happy. That doesn't mean it's a bad book or it's not enjoyable. It's more gripping, not really a thriller, but there's not a mystery, but there's an event that happens. So this is set in Sweden, where Frederick Bachman is from. It's about this very, very small town nestled in the woods that is all about hockey. And the junior hockey team is doing really, really well. And or maybe it's the senior hockey team. And if they win this championship they're in, it could really help revitalize the town because it could possibly bring a big skating arena to the town. So a lot is weighing on these young teenage boys who are on this team and this town who's kind of relying on them to win and succeed and help revitalize the town. And then this isn't a spoiler warning because I can read it from the back, but they win, not the championship, but they win a game leading up to the championship. It says, under that heavy burden of the semifinal match, it becomes the catalyst for a violent act that will leave a young girl traumatized and a town in turmoil. So if you can think of what could happen to a young girl when a bunch of teenage boys are stressed out and need, and you know, the whole town's relying on them, and there's a party and they get drunk, and you know, I think you can infer what happens to this young girl, and it, you know, rips the town apart. Who believes who? You know, what, you know, and it impacts how well the team does, and this young boy's life and the young girl's life, and all of that. So heavy stuff, but just really well written. I think something that Bachman does really well is creating characters that feel very real, like real people you could know who really act like how you think people act, and it's just very well written. The characters are great. It's just not super happy, and I'm sure the rest of the books aren't, but so don't go into this thinking light, fun read. No. But really well done. I guess the only thing is listening to it on audio, it gets really repetitive explaining the town, like this small town that's, you know, blue collar, and the people are tough and gritty, and the wilderness could swallow you up if you're not careful. And, you know, at first you're like, yeah, you're giving a great setting, a real feel for this town, this small, very, you know, rural town. But after a while you're like, we get it, Frederick, we get it. It's cold and dark and scary. Okay. So, but otherwise really good. So the next one will be Us Against You. I will read this because I have the paperback. I don't know what happens in this one. It's whatever happens after the end of Beartown, I assume. Though Beartown does, you could just read Beartown and like more or less feel that the story wrapped up. And I don't know if Bachman did that on purpose or if he wanted to leave it open to see if he wanted to do another book or had always planned. I don't know, but it does flash forward, I think 10 years into the future at the end of Beartown, and gives you kind of a look at where some of the characters are in 10 years. So I don't know the timeline of this one, but it's whatever happens probably in those 10 years to some of the other characters and some other people within this town, I assume. And so that was an audiobook, but I'll read Us Against You. I haven't started it yet. And then my next audiobook, I thought I'd go with something happy and light after Beartown. And I already had it in my Audible account, and that is Anne of Green Gables. So I've read Anne of Green Gables when I was a kid, and I watched the show on Netflix, which is very cute, and ended too soon. There were only a few seasons, and I wish there had been more because it's just such a happy, sweet story. But they have it on Audible, so I'm gonna listen to Anne of Green Gables as something a little bit lighter and happier to listen to. And I think the audiobook is only 8 hours, so that should be a fast one. And then the other one I'm reading is Summer Before the War by Helen Simonson, and it's really cute so far. So this is set in a small town in England that does exist, Rye. It's in Sussex. One of my viewers is in Sussex, so that's cool. She's telling me about it. And it is 1914. It is right before World War I. This young woman, Beatrice, her father passes away and she needs a job. She is very smart, very well educated, and she studies Latin, or is an expert in Latin. And so she gets hired to move to this small town and teach Latin in the grade school. She is hired by a prominent woman in the town who wants to she's not uber feminist, and she's like anti some of the things like suffrage, but she kind of wants to push women forward a little bit, and they needed a good Latin teacher and weren't having success. So she pushes to have Beatrice hired. Now the town, some of the townspeople don't think a woman should teach Latin. She should teach like kind of sewing or English or softer, I guess. But not really. They're not actually softer, but I guess it's seen as womanly or softer subjects, but not Latin. So she's getting a little pushback in the town. The woman who gets her hired has 2 nephews who are handsome and dashing. So we got that going on. And it's just kind of about probably this summer or some of the summer that she's in this town teaching Latin to these young boys in the grade school and kind of navigating the politics of the town and the quirky characters of this small town, and probably some romance gonna happen at some point, and then the onset of World War I and how that kind of impacts everyone. And so it's cute. It's not heavy. So it is, you know, the war is coming. Characters might not make it. You know, it's hard to know. War is never a happy thing, but it's a softer novel with, you know, the beautiful English countryside and, you know, funny characters and quirky women and politics, gender politics and all of that. And she's a very headstrong woman. You know, there's parts in the book where she wants to write and loves to write, and they're like, oh, women could never write a book. Women can't write. And she's got some good one-liners and stuff like that. So it's cute. It's enjoyable. I'm about 150 pages in. The war has just been, England has just declared it's at war. Rationing is starting to happen, less food in the shops and things like that. So we're just getting into that kind of part of the book. I think it's still the summer, so she's tutoring a couple boys, but she hasn't started fully teaching yet. They almost tried to kick her out and get someone else to teach Latin, but she won. So we'll see, but it's cute. So I'm liking that one. Hopefully it stays light. I will let you know if it gets really depressing, but so far it's a softer, lighter read if you're looking for something not super sad, but something in the historical fiction realm. I think historical fiction can definitely range from like being like a bit lighter and happy and there's the history going on and some of the stuff, but it doesn't get too serious to the you're going to be sobbing at the end of this and your favorite character is going to go off to battle and not come home kind of thing. So far this is on the softer end, but we'll see how that goes. So that's what I'm reading. Let me know what you're reading. I'm so happy when people tell me that I recommend books and they grab it from the library or they grab it on audio or they listen. I'm happy to give bookish recommendations anytime, and I love hearing about what you're reading. Sorry about the train. They don't normally blow the horn. There are train tracks not far from my apartment. And let me know what you're reading, and if you have any recommendations for me as we get into the warmer summer months. I'm going to start to look at my shelves and see what lighter beach reads I have. Definitely, I don't just read happy stuff in the summer. You know, I think you can read whatever, but I definitely gravitate towards some romances and lighter things. I know that Emily Henry is a contemporary romance writer, and she just came out with one, I think, called Happy Place. I know Bridget, the museum stitcher, really loved it. Lots of people reading that one all over Instagram if you're following any bookish accounts. So that is on my list. I read Beach Read by her and Book Lovers and enjoyed them both. I heard this one is great. We'll see. So probably be picking that one up soon. So thank you so much for hanging in this long. If you've stuck around this long, put a star emoji if you know how to do that. If you don't, just say you watched till the end. And thank you so much for watching, and happy stitching and happy reading.